with this trade here, we gap down in Asia session, so that already sends kind of a bearish sentiment. I kind of watched what happened here. We had a little bit of, you know, some selling pressure, some buying pressure. Really, really important to notice this break of structure here. Lower highs really signifies just that, you know, bears are in the market. And then here we get another low, and then we get this retracement up to the VWAP, another break of structure here. So we have nice two breaks of structure, so two lower lows, two lower highs, and we're retracing up to this VWAP, and we're getting this downward momentum again. This is signaling that we are going to be bearish. There's a lot of you know, signals that are telling us that we're going to be bearish. And basically I just had my stop at this, you know, previous break of structure here, this previous lower high, basically signifying that, you know, if what happened was we, you know, came back up here, broke structure to the upside, this trade would have been invalidated, and we would have had a change of character here, signaling that maybe we fill this gap, maybe we are just seeing some more buyers in the market. And so I wanted to get out of the trade, obviously, when the trade itself would have been invalidated. And so that was a really important part of, you know, where I placed my stop. My take profit, so there's a few different things that I thought of, and one thing that is a little bit hard to notice here about this this session volume profile is that what the volume profile looked like at the time where I took this trade is that the point of control was also up here, meaning that the point of control is where the most amount of trades are happening and the most amount of volume is happening. And so that was a really important part of why I took the short there as well. When we have the VWAP and the point of control at the same spot and we are seeing rejection off of it, it normally tends that we are going to have a, you know, either really good push to the downside or a really strong push to the upside. And so I was willing to take that bet just because we also had those breaks of structure to the downside as well, and we had that gap open in Asia downwards as well. So there's a lot of things that were kind of pointing that things were going to be bearish today. How did I know that, you know, I should have gotten out at these levels? Well, I kind of was just looking at where there was a lot of consolidation during New York session. I figured that we weren't going to get lower than here, which we obviously didn't, because just if you look at New York session, things were incredibly bullish. And so I wasn't necessarily sold on the fact that we were going to, you know, take back all of today's gains, but I definitely had a bearish sentiment. There was going to be a little bit of a pullback after we had such a strong rally into the close. And so what I was really looking for here is, can we kind of break through this point of control of today where the highest volume was traded? And that's kind of just where I placed my stop, or I'm sorry, placed my take profit, basically signaling that there were going to be buyers that were going to step back in here. And that's exactly what happened. The volume profile is, you know, very, very key to placing take profits, stop losses, entries. Like, it is a very key part of order flow and order flow trading. Being able to identify, you know, where the highest points of volume is being traded is going to be able to give you a good idea on, you know, where there's going to be some rejection and where there's going to be some absorption as well. So that was a big part of this trade today. Able to profit for almost a 2.5 R, but yeah, a nice $700 across 5 accounts, locking in a 4th green day on the Lucid accounts. I haven't traded with them before, so this will be, if I make $150 tomorrow, I'm just going to take the payouts with them. Basically locking in like a 7K payout from them, which I haven't traded with them, so I'm going to kind of see what their payout structure kind of looks like. Unfortunately, they do have a 2K payout on their 50K accounts, on their flex accounts. So that is something that I'm kind of aware of and being careful of. But it is, I just kind of wanted to, you know, cover this trade because rejection off the VWAP, breaks of structure to the downside, gap to the downside as well, failed to reclaim higher levels here, failed to reclaim the point of control. And this was just a very, very structurally bearish kind of sentiment going into the market here. And so that was basically just this trade. I don't know. Do you guys have any questions on this one? I see someone typing, so I'll give y'all a second. Yeah, I mean, today missing the longs was definitely upsetting, but it also gave me a VWAP session indicator you use as in it comes, you don't change anything in the settings. No, so the VWAP indicator that I use, these are the settings that I use. It's the high and low and the close divided by 3. This is kind of the typical VWAP kind of, what's it called? Just like calculator for the bands. But I don't really change anything beside it. I just don't have the, I know that some of them show the like outer bands. I just don't have these on. But I don't think these are different, than what the VWAP default is, to be honest. I don't exactly remember if I had to change them or not. But looking at the session VWAP is really important. You can look at like the intraday VWAP as well, meaning like throughout the week. But I think that being able to look at the session VWAP is typically more important when it comes to really like refining entries, because remember, like, we're taking trades. Some of my trades are anywhere from 1 to 3 minutes to like 20-30 minutes. So if we're looking at a indicator like VWAP, but we're looking at it on a horizon for like, you know, looking at data from the past 5 days, it doesn't really make sense if we're looking to take like 1 minute trades. We want to be looking at a little bit smaller of a window when we're looking at these refined entry points. So if we were taking a trade, you know, that was going to be 5 days long, looking at the VWAP over the past 5 days is going to be useful. But looking at the VWAP for the session is going to be more useful when we're really trying to like target our day trade entries. And so that was kind of what I did here. Retracement to the VWAP, rejection. We even had a little bit of a retracement here to the VWAP and rejection as well. And so a lot of these things can, you know, these VWAP rejection trades happen very, very frequently. And so it is one that I typically try to spot. And I was kind of prepared for this one in a way as well. But moving on to the next one, which I lost last night. So I'm going to remove the session volume profile for now, just because it's kind of covering this. And this was during Asia session. Honestly, I want to make this like as less crazy as possible. Actually, this is kind of important because it was during the beginning of the trading session. So I did get stopped out, and then it ran to my full TP. These trades are really sad. I'm sure that some of you guys have experienced these before. If you can kind of see, I basically got stopped out by like, I think it was like 2 or 3 points. It happens. And this was also me kind of being impatient. But there are some things that you can't really control. So as you can see, this was Asia session. Asia session kind of started down here. We had some like a little bit of a bearish moment, but then we had this kind of support here that picked things up. So I was looking for some bullish momentum here. I was looking for longs at this point. We were kind of going higher, and I was just looking for a pullback to enter into longs. So what are we looking for? I was looking for that VWAP retracement. And you can see that it did play out kind of perfectly. But I just entered a little bit too early. We got to break a structure to the downside. I just wasn't really prepared for that. And I should have waited for it to cleanly touch the VWAP and for that momentum to then move up to the upside. But I was just way too early on this trade. Not way too early, but I would say probably 5 minutes too early on this trade. And so my stop placement could have been also a little bit wider. I didn't give myself a ton of breathing room, 8.5 points. But I did want to preserve a decent risk to reward when it came to targeting these kind of Asia highs here. I was going to leave some runners as well to target these, this New York, I had actually up here, New York high here. So this was kind of my first TP, my second TP all the way up here. But this was kind of some bad, I would say some bad antics on my part when it came to just not being patient enough for us to really tap into that VWAP and see that pressure upwards. But what would that mean? We did get this break of structure to the downside, which I don't love entering longs there. And so I entered just right at this point here where we were at this kind of equal lows. And so I was really just saying like, oh, we're at these equal lows. Maybe we can, you know, move to the upside here. We kind of tapped into it for a little bit and then went straight to my stop loss, unfortunately. But basically relatively too tight and not patient enough for it to really tap into that VWAP and for that momentum to then move back to the upside. But you know, you got to take losses to take wins, and so this was really one where I was just a little bit too early. But do you guys have any questions on this one? If you can see, it's almost the opposite of the exact trade that I just showed you guys in Asia session right now, except obviously this one we're moving to the upside. The only thing that's not great on this one, that was great on the one that I took today, was that we had those continuous break of structures to the downside today, and here we did not exactly have a good break of structure to the upside that would have signaled this as a long as well. So that was probably something that I could have been a little bit more aware of as well. We did get these break of structures here and a break of structure here after having these higher lows and higher highs. So the sentiment was obviously bullish, but the entry was just not great. So something that happens. I think that, you know, being a little bit more patient on these entries is probably something that I need to work on. Normally I'm pretty patient, but in Asia sessions sometimes I can get a little antsy when things are moving really slow. So definitely just should have waited for that momentum to kind of return to the upside before entering into this. But yeah, I mean, at the same time, looking at trades like this is like it's very promising, because at the end of the day what you're really seeing is like, okay, I was right on the structure, I was right on the direction. How can I really just refine my entries to make sure that, you know, I get stopped out. I am placing my stops in better positions. I'm getting better entries, even though the overall direction was correct. That is something that, you know, I'm constantly iterating. I'm constantly reviewing my own trades. I'm constantly going over, you know, why did this trade work? Why did this trade not work? Even if it was the same setup, what was something that was done differently? And so this is just something where, you know, typical VWAP retracement, just not patient enough. And then also, you know, that break of structure to the downside kind of gives me a little bit of a less kind of confidence in a trade like this. But sorry guys, did I just freeze? I think I just lost connection for a sec, but I'm back. So yeah, gotta take losses to win, part of the game. Tight stop loss there. Yeah, that's really all I can say about that. And I hope you guys can see the entry difference on this one too. We kind of swept into that VWAP a little bit more as well. I honestly entered before we even touched the VWAP, which is typically kind of bad practice, whereas the one that I took today kind of waited for it to tap into the VWAP first. And then once it kind of started continuing in the direction that I was taking the trade, then I entered into the trade. And versus this one, I kind of entered before we even touched the VWAP, and while we were still, you know, going the opposite way of the trade I was taking. And so I was kind of betting against the momentum there, which is something that you should never do. And so yeah, just kind of a few bad things on my part, which I think you know, I constantly am trying to fix as well. And then last trade here, this one kind of has a lot going on, so we're gonna move this a little closer. All right. How do I hate how this is kind of glitching here. One sec. This was also VWAP retracement, also off the point of control. This was the one that I dropped the live trading video of me trading it in the trading chat. basically where what I was really looking for. And I honestly think that it's probably better for you to also watch the live trading video. My mic was also not working that day, so I'm sorry you can't hear me. I'm not talking in the video because the mic doesn't work. But basically what the trade idea was is that I was waiting for price to kind of move in a bearish direction and then take shorts off of the VWAP and the point of control. And so really similar trade to the last two. Obviously you can see I trade these VWAP retracements a lot. And so coming into New York session, we already had slightly bearish structure. One thing I was looking at here in London session is we had these equal highs here, and basically also if we were going to be able to get below this so I don't like to call this really like a like kind of supply zone or demand zone, but this is more of just like kind of some support here. Obviously we're seeing, you know, things bounce off this level over London session, so I figured if we were going to be able to break through this kind of support zone, then we were going to at least see London lows, which is where I placed my take profit. And so that's just kind of like something important to note there, as I was really looking for if we're going to be able to break below that support in London session. Then what else was I looking for here? Basically, yeah, price broke below that as well, and then we got a retracement back to the VWAP, looked for shorts there, and I had my stop basically just above where that point of control kind of really started to die off, so where that high volume node really was ending, which I think is really important as well. And so that was kind of like a clear invalidation level, and I also had my stop above the VWAP, which is really important just in case we did look at we did kind of go above the VWAP, signaling that we were kind of switching sentiment to the upside, which obviously you can see we definitely did on Tuesday. And so that was kind of something that I was looking at as well. Was able to preserve a nice risk to reward 2.27, which isn't terrible, by targeting these London lows here, which were right here. Obviously we did go even a little bit lower, almost to previous day lows, but I did just start, I took full take profit here at these London lows. But yeah, basically break support and then retrace up back into VWAP point of control, and then take the short down to that session low. Right here, you could take the low, you could take the break down into, you know, a 2-hour supply and demand zone. You could take it into the previous day lows. Like, there were so many options to target, but I was kind of just conservative with it, going for those London lows. And so yeah, they were hit pretty fast too, so I wasn't kind of trying to do things too quickly, I guess you could say.